Hello everyone, welcome to the video on CNN Architectures by Society of Artificial Intelligence or SOAI. I am Ritul and these slides are created by my colleague Tushar. Let's start. CNN Architectures Part 1, Setting the Context. First, let's see what kind of tasks are CNNs used for. Consider the following image for an overview of the tasks that CNNs are used for. Using popular datasets like ImageNet, which contains 1,000 classes of objects, ranging from vehicles and scenarios up to the different dog and cat breeds. Classification. In the first image, the task at hand is to correctly predict the class to which the object belongs to. This example uses an iconic photo, that is, where the class object of the photo occupies most of the photograph area. Classification plus localization. In the method image, we are predicting the class of the object and also precisely where it is located in the image. Given a starting point outside the object, we detect the width and height of the bounding box enclosing the object. This is both a classification problem and a regression problem. Object detection. In the third image, we have multiple objects. Therefore, we must correctly detect each object and classify them respectively. It involves multiple classification plus localization operations on the same image. Instance segmentation. In the fourth image, we are moving a step further from object detection. Here, we are identifying the precise bounding area around each of the objects present in the image. This is commonly performed in autonomous driving, etc., where we have to detect the presence of multiple objects at any given point of time. These are the four applications that commonly use CNNs. In fact, even our capstone project of character detection and recognition also requires the above mentioned processes. A typical recipe for solving image related tasks is as follows. First, passing the input image through a series of convolutional layers, we obtain a 3D tensor which we flatten to a single dimensional vector. We pass the vector through a number of fully connected layers which culminate in output prediction. In these cases, we either perform classification or regression. Now, if we are going to use CNNs for these tasks, we have to make a few choices with regards to the design of the CNN layout. What are some of the decisions that need to be taken? Let's look at a sample CNN architecture. Some of the factors under our control are as follows: number of layers, number of filters in each layer, filter size, and max pooling. With the amount of choice we have, designing a CNN architecture could become a very messy process. So a standard practice is to use tried and tested architectures. In this chapter, we will be looking at the most popular CNN architectures. The ImageNet Challenge. The ImageNet dataset is a 1000 class 10 lakh image dataset, 1000 images per class. The ImageNet Large Scale Visual Recognition Challenge or the ImageNet Challenge is an annual contest for calendars models to correctly classify the images in the dataset. Let us look at the challenge result between 2010 to 2015. Let us analyze the graph briefly. The metric used to measure performance was top 5 accuracy. That is, if any of the top 5 predicted class probabilities matched the true class, it was considered correct. 2010 to 2011. This was the pre-deep learning era, and the machine learning models that were submitted had an error between 25 to 28%. In 2012, the AlexNet CNN architecture smashed existing records with 16.4% error. It kickstarts the deep learning era. From 2013 to 2014, significant improvements were made using models such as ZapNet, VGG, and Google LayNet. Error was brought down to 6.7%. In 2015, Microsoft's ResNet successfully brought the error down to 3.57%, which is lower than the error scored by humans. One of the reasons for beating the human error was because some of the classes in the ImageNet dataset were very fine grained, that is, distinguishing between the different dog breeds. Understanding the first layer of AlexNet. AlexNet was the winning architecture for the 2012 ImageNet Challenge. Let us look at the convolutional layer. The details are as follows. Input images, color images of 227 by 227 weight by height. Wi is equal to 227 and hi is equal to 227 and di is 3. Filter Filter size f is 11, number of filters k is 96, stride s is 4 and padding p is 0. Parameters are 34,848. These values were determined through extensive experimentation. This was a standard architecture and can be used for a variety of tasks. Output is W naught. You can see Wi minus f plus 2p by s plus 1, which comes out as 55. Similarly for h naught, and d naught is equal to k, which is 96. Before moving into the AlexNet architecture, let us understand why we have decided to use a convolutional layer instead of a fully connected layer. In the convolutional layer, the number of parameters is 34,848. However, in a full connected layer, the number of parameters would be input 227 by 227 by 3 and output as 55 multiplied with 55 multiplied with 96. Thus, before sparse connectivity and weight sharing, we are able to achieve a similar degree for complexity with a significantly smaller number of parameters with a convolutional layer. Now, let us break down the entire AlexNet architecture. Let's look at each of the layers in depth. Input layer 227 multiplied with 227 and 3. Output images of 227 multiplied with 227. Its width by height. WIN is 227, HIN is 227 and DIN is 3. Convolutional layer. Input is 227 cross 227 cross 3. Filter size 11. Number of filters 96. Stride 4. Padding 0. And the parameters are 34,848. W1 here is 55, H1 is also 55 and DI is 96. ReLU non-linearity function is applied to every two-dimensional area in the output volume. Max pooling layer 1 input is 55 cross 55 cross 96. Filter size is 3. Stride 4 and parameters 0. That is no parameters in next pooling. WIM is 27, HIM is 27 and DIM here is 96. Convolutional layer 2. Input is 27 cross 27 cross 96. Filter size f is 5. Now, number of filters becomes 256. Stride 1 and padding 0. Parameters become 6,14,400 and W2 is 23. H2 is 23 and D2 is 256. Here ReLU non-linearity function is applied. Max pooling layer 2. Here input is 23 cross 23 cross 256. Here filter size is 3, stride is 3 and parameters 0. W2M 11, H2M 11 and D2M 256. Now convolutional layer 3. Input is 11 cross 11 cross 256 with filter size 3, number of filters 384, stride 1 and padding 0. Here parameters are 8,84,736 and W3 is 9. S3 is 9 and D3 is 384. ReLU nonlinearity function is applied. Similarly for convolutional layer 4 and convolutional layer 5. Here, max pooling layer 3. Input is 5 cross 5 cross 256 with filter size f3, stride 2 and parameters 0. W5M is 2, H5M is 2, H5, H5M is 2 and D5M is 256. Fully connected layer 1. Input is 2 cross 2 cross 256 which becomes 1024. Number of neurons are 4096. Parameters fully connected layer 2. Input is 496. Number of neurons totally there are around 27.55 million parameters, out of which roughly 25 million parameters were in the last three fully connected layers. When counting the total number of layers, we do not include the max pooling layers as they do not carry weights. Thus, we say that LXNet has 8 layers. ZFNet ZFNet is another 8-layer CNN architecture. Let's understand and better with a slide-by-slide comparison with LXNet. ZFNet is largely similar to LXNet with a expansion of a few of the layers. Let us highlight those differences. Convolutional layer 1 input is 227 cross 227 cross 3 with filter size 7, number of filters 96, stride 4 and padding 0. Parameters are 14,000 and 112. W1 is 55, H1 is 55 and D1 is 96. ReLU nonlinearity function is applied to every two-dimensional area in the output volume. Convolutional layer 3 input is 11 cross 11 cross 256. Filter size 3 and number of filters 512 with stride 1, padding 0 and the parameters are 11,79,648. W3 is 9, S3 is 9 and D3 is 512. ReLU non-linearity function is applied. Convolutional layer 4 input is 9 cross 512. Filter size is 3, number of filters 1024, stride 1, padding 0 and the parameters are 47 lakh 18,592. W4 is 7, H4 is also 7 and D4 is 1024. ReLU non-linearity function is applied. Similarly for convolutional layer 5 and max pooling layer 3, the total difference in the number of parameters ZFNet minus LXNet is 1.45 million. There are other variants of ZFNet where we use a stride of 2 in the first convolutional layer, thereby changing. During the design of the VGGNet, it was found that alternating convolution and pooling layers were not required. So VGGNet uses multiple of convolutional layers in sequence with pooling layers in between. Let us break down the VGGNet architecture. A few points to note. The kernel size 3 cross 3 is maintained throughout the network, only the depth is changed between layers. Appropriate padding is provided to maintain the dimensions across the layers. Convolutional bundle 1. There are two convolutional layers of size 224 cross 224 cross 64. Max pool layer 1. The size is 112 and 112 and 64. Convolutional bundle 2. There are two convolutional layers of size 112 and 112 and 128. Similarly for max pooling layer 2 and max pooling layer 3 till max pooling layer 5. The number of parameters in the known FC layers is 16 million. FC layer 1 has 4096 neurons, FC layer 2 has 4096 neurons and FC layer 3 is a softmax with 1000 neurons per output classes. The number of parameters in the FC layers is 112 million. Most in FC layer 1, 102 million. Though the number of parameters in this network seems very large, it would have been exponentially larger if we had chosen an entirely fully connected network. The above shown VGG net is a 16-layer network called VGG16. There are also other versions like the 19-layer VGG19. Summary of Part 1. CNN Architecture Part 1 Summary. Let's see how CNNs come into play for our signboard translation capstone project. For input of X is image, you can see CNN used to compute hidden representation of output image using a standard CNN architecture like VGGNet. Finally, add layer to perform regression and get the bounding box values. The output of Y is ABWH regression task, finding bounding box. And in the below image, input is cropped image. And we apply another CNN to obtain hidden representations before using RNNs and encoder-decoder models to get the text. And the output is in the text, which is Mumbai. The above diagram shows how we use CNNs in our capstone project. To pick up from VGGNet, can we do something to reduce the huge amount of parameters incurred between the known FC layer and the FC layer? Another question was can ask is why we must stop at layers. Can we not go deeper? So by combining the above 2 points, we can make the network deeper to reduce the number of parameters at the interface between the known FC and the FC layers. We must also make sure that the number of computations is not very high. Our problem points can be summarized as follows. Increase choice of filters, reduce number of parameters, reduce number of computations, and make a deeper network. Number of computations in convolutional layer. We will be looking at the Google LaneNet architecture as an improvement to the VGG net based on the points discussed in the previous section. However, before that, we must look at two key points in the Google LaneNet layout, one-and-one convolution and an interesting way to perform max pooling. To approach these two, we just need to see how many computations are needed in one convolutional layer. Input dimensions Wi, Hi, and Di. Filter size F and Di. Output dimensions W0 and H0. Stride 1 and appropriate padding so that W0 is Wi equal to W and H0 equal to Hi equal to H. To calculate the number of computations for every pixel of interest for D layers, we perform F and D computations. So for an output area of W and H, we perform computations. From the previous point, we can observe that the depth of the output layer will be very large. If there is a large number of filters applied on the input layer, as each filter generates a two-dimensional area of input unit depth. So, if we use a large number of filters, the output volume will be very deep, subsequently increasing the number of computations in the next layer's calculation due to high D value. We also try controlling W and H, but they can be more easily regulated using max pooling. However, depth is directly related to the number of filters used. Part 2 1 and 1 Convolutions. We have mostly worked with 3 and 3 convolutions so far, that is, a grid containing 3 rows and 3 columns with 9 cells in total. The result of a single 3 and 3 operation is the weighted average of all the points in the grid applied to a selected pixel. Now, let us look at a 1 and 1 convolution. A 1 and 1 kernel takes a neighborhood of one row and one column, which is essentially the pixel itself. Since the kernel is of size 1 and 1 NDI, it computes the weighted average of all the pixels. Here, the input is 3D, the filters is 3D, but the operation is 2D. As we are only moving horizontally and vertically, the 3D volume is compressed to a 2D area. If we were to use denote number of filters, where denote is smaller than di, we will get an output of wi and hi and denote. Each of the 1 and 1 kernel will give one 2D output, and denote such kernels gives us an output volume of the dimensions wi and hi and denote. If denote is much smaller than di, we effectively shrink the input volume while still effectively retaining the depth information due to averaging across depth. Now, this output behaves as an input to the next layer, resulting in a much smaller number of computations due to a smaller depth. In a nutshell, 1 and 1 filters are used to compress input volumes across their depth to get a smaller output volume of same width and height. Another operation we need to look at is max pooling. We usually perform max pooling with a stride to resulting in the input dimensions. However, we can also perform it with a stride of 1. With s equal to 1 and appropriate padding, we can preserve input dimensions. The intuition behind Google LeanNet. One point to note in the architectures used thus far is that we must always make a choice of a particular filter size for any given layer. For example, in VGGNet, all filters used were 3 and 3. Another point is the interspersing of max pooling layers between convolutional layers. How do we how do we decide the arrangement to follow? In Google LeanNet, the choice was eliminated. Instead, we are able to apply all our operations whatever combination of filter size and max pooling that we had like. In Google LeanNet, we can apply multiple filters of varying size to perform either convolutional or max pooling operations. Through experimentation with the older architectures, we have found that when there are multiple convolutional operations in a layer, we need not use larger filter sizes. Therefore, 5 and 5 filters are usually the upper limit of size. One constraint is that for each operation in a layer, appropriate padding and stride must be taken so as to preserve the width and height between the input and the output. The number of filters for each operation can vary d0 to d3 etc. In the output volume, the total depth is the combined depth of the individual volumes from each of the operations. D is equal to d0 plus d1 plus d2 plus d3. The problem with combining the depths is that it has the potential to become very large, thus drastically increasing the number of computations. We can mitigate this problem by performing one and one convolutions. By performing one and one convolutions, we can reduce the depth of the output volume, thereby reducing the number of computations to be performed in the subsequent layers. The Inception module. Google LeanNet is also used Inception Net. It is made up of multiple modular operation blocks known as Inception modules. Let us break down a single Inception module. Here we can see sequence of operations performed in this Inception module. There are a few operations that are a blueprint of Inception modules. Direct one and one convolutions followed by 3 and 3 and 5 and 5 convolutions. 3 and 3 convolutions followed by 1 and 1 convolutions. Here, the number of filters can change, but the same blueprint repeats itself throughout the network. Summing the output of all these, we get the output volume as shown in the figure. The Google Net architecture. Let's take a look at the entire Google LeanNet architecture. Up till the second max pooling layer, the architecture is similar to what we have seen in earlier configurations. Post that, we begin moving into the inception modules. Then there is a max pooling layer which reduces the dimensions of half. This max pooling layer is used to because the max pooling layers in the inception module Do not reduce the dimensions. Inception module 3, 4 and 5. Here, input at inception module 3 is 480 and 14 and 8. Output at inception module 5 is 512 and 14 and 14. For inception module 6, input is 512 and 14 and 14 and output is 528 into 14 and 14. Similarly for module 7. Then there's a max pooling layer which reduces the dimensions by half. Inception module 8, input is 832 and 7 and 7 and output is 832 and 7 and 7. Inception module 9, input is 832 into 7 and 7 and output is 1024 and 7 and 7. Average pool layer is used to reduce the output from Inception module 9, thereby reducing the number of parameters between the non-FC and FC layer interface. Each Inception module counts as 2 layers. Therefore, we have more than 20 layers in the Google Net. Average pooling. At the final inception module, we have an output dimension of 1024 and 7 and 7. If this was to directly interface with a fully connected layer with 1000 neurons, we would get 50 million parameters. To reduce this number, Google added another layer which performs average pooling by taking the average value of each 7 and 7 slice to get a 1 and 1 value across the depth. We are left with the 1024 and 1 and 1 vector. This vector of 1024 values interfaces with a fully connected layer with 1000 neurons. This gives us 1 million parameters as opposed to the earlier seen 50 million parameters. Auxiliary laws for training a deep network. Let's look at how Google LeNet responds to the 4 problem points from the previous CNN architectures: increased choice of filters, parallel convolutions or max pooling, reduce number of parameters, average pooling, reduce number of computations, 1 and 1 convolutions, make a deeper network has 22 layers as opposed to VGG19's as 19 layers. Now, since it is a very deep network, there is a possibility for vanishing gradients to occur when backpropagating the loss. This is mitigated using a technique called auxiliary loss. In addition to the final output prediction, we are also trying to make partial predictions from the above specified regions in the network. We compute the loss at the final prediction and add both the dummy predictions. Now, we can propagate from the final loss or from the dummy losses obtained, thereby shortening the effective depth of the network and lowering the chance of vanishing gradients occurring. Some interesting points to note about Google LeNet is 2 and less parameters than AlexNet, 2x more computations than AlexNet, improved performance on ImageNet. ResNet. Let us consider the basic architecture of VGG19 network. When compared to another 34-layer network architecture, the train or test error curves were plotted for some other 20-layer and 56-layer network. Now, when comparing the 19 and 34-layer networks, we see that at the very least, the 34-layer network should be able to match the performance of the 19-layer network. Matching the performance could be done by bypassing the additional layers in the 34-layer network by using identity mapping. Identity mapping refers to learning filter values such that the output is preserved identical across a finite number of layers till it reaches the target layer, basically cloning the layer output till required. However, it wasn't able to match the 19 layers error. This implies that information from the input is getting highly morphed and by the time each the output it is highly transformed. A simple solution would be to keep passing the input information repeatedly in stages. To attempt this, they tried the residual network or the ResNet. In this, every two layers we pass the input given to the first layer along with the output obtained at the second layer. This helps the gradients to flow back better and training to improve. It is called a residual network because at every stage there is a residue of the input which is passed once again with the output. Using this technology, we were able to train very deep neural network of up to 151 layers. The residual network showed remarkable performance among the various tasks. It was the winner among the four main tasks across the following dataset. Basically, ImageNet classification, ImageNet localization, ImageNet detection, and COCO detection, COCO segmentation. Some of the popular residual networks are 51, 101, and 151. Society of Artificial Intelligence, thank you.